Alright, so now that we have our environment set up with Node.js, we're going to create a Node.js application. Alright, so first thing we'll do is open up a command line. Now, if you're using Linux or Mac, just open up your terminal. If you're using Windows, you can use your standard Windows command line, but we're going to use the git bash tool that we downloaded. Now, if you downloaded it as well and installed it, you should have an icon on your desktop. If not, you should have it installed in your program files inside a folder called Git, and we have this git bash tool, and I would suggest putting it on your desktop. Alright, but we can also open it from a context menu. You see we have this git bash here, and that'll actually open it in whatever folder you have that you click the menu on. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually create a folder for our application. Now, you can put this wherever you want. I have a folder called projects inside of my C drive. That's where I like to put my dev projects. So let's go ahead and create a folder, and let's call this web server, okay, because that's what we're building. And we're just going to git bash here. Okay, and of course, if you don't have the git bash, just open up your Windows command line. Okay. So when we're building a Node application, the first thing you want to do is create a package.json file. And this is a manifest file that holds your application name, the version, all the information about it, as well as all the dependencies. Any Node modules that your application depends on should also be in this file. Now, we could create it manually, but the easier thing to do is just to use npm, and we can say npm init. Alright, and that'll actually create it for us. So if we go back and we go and open up our folder, projects web server. Now it's not there yet because you can see over here it's asking us some questions. So the name, whatever is in parentheses, is what's it's gonna use. If we just click enter, web server's fine. That version's fine. Description, we'll say simple express web server. Entry point index.js. Now you can use index, you can use server.js, but I'm going to use app.js. Test command, we can just enter through these. Author, feel free to put your own name if you want. Alright, so is this okay? Yes, it's okay. Okay, and now you can see that a package.json file is now popped up over here. Okay, and if this isn't going away, just do a Control-C. Okay, so now what we'll do is go into Atom. Let's just snap this to the side here. And let's see, we'll go like that. And then we're going to add project folder. And we're going to go to wherever you created your web server folder. Alright, so now let's open up package.json and see what it looks like. So basically this is just a single object, and it has a bunch of key value pairs. It has the name, the version, all the stuff that was asked of us in the command line. Now the entry point we specified as app.js. So what we want to do is create that file. So let's say new file, app.js. Okay. Now we should be able to, let's just say console.log. We'll say hello from app.js. Alright, so if we go ahead and save that and we go back to our command line here and we say node app.js, we get hello from app.js. So we can actually run JavaScript files from within a command line with Node.js. Alright, we haven't done anything yet that has to do with Express. We haven't even installed it. This is all just Node.js. Now, if we go to the Node.js About page, there's actually a sample file here that we can use that gives us a very, very simple web server. In fact, this is probably the bare minimum that you could even call a web server. So let's just grab this here, and we'll go and just paste it in our app.js. And let's just see what's going on here. So we're bringing in a module from HTTP. So this is the HTTP module. We're putting it into a variable here. All right, and then we're creating a variable called host name. We're setting that to our loopback address. This is our local host address. Then we're setting a port of 3000. Okay, so we have a host and a port. Then we're creating a variable called server, and we're using the HTTP module that we brought in from up here, and we're calling create server. This takes in a request and response object, and then from in here we can use that response object to create a status. Okay, now status 200 means that everything's okay, so that's what we want to set it to. We want to set the content type to text plain in this case, because we're just outputting some text, not HTML or JSON or anything like that. And we use the set header to set header values like content type. And then we're simply saying res.end, so we can end the response and then just output whatever we put in here, in this case hello world. Alright, so that's our server variable, and then what we're doing is calling listen, and we want to pass in our host and our port that we defined up there, and then we're simply going to console log server running at, and then the host and the port. Okay, and that'll actually run the server. So let's save that, and we're going to go back to git bash, and we're going to again run node app.js. Okay, and now you can see that it says server running at our loopback and port 3000. So now if we were to go to our browser and say 127.0.0.1:3000, we get hello world. Okay, we could also use localhost 3000. Okay, and it's just putting out that text. That's all we're serving here. Alright, this again, we have nothing to do with Express here. This is simply using the HTTP module. Now, could you create a server without Express using HTTP? You could. It would be a lot more difficult, and you wouldn't have near as many features, and you'd have to use some other libraries as well. Alright, so that's where Express comes in. It makes it really easy to work with routes, to use template engines and things like that. Alright, so in the next video we're going to install Express, and we're going to create some routes, and I'll show you just how easy that is.